Hey everybody, and welcome to my in5 series where I cover a topic in about 5 minutes. Danny Gallon Music writes in and asks what kind of cables these are in the back. And I'm going to do a little bit more of a general discussion about cables because it is important. So these are specifically HOSA cables, spelled HOSA, and they're fine. They're I won't say they're the cheapest cables you can get, but I'm going to show you some other cables I've got and why they're okay. Especially the main problem with them is that they're sealed with this plastic, and once the cable, there's two wires in each of these strands. Once the cable basically gets separated in here from the connector, there's really not a good way to repair this without doing a lot of work to snip it, then restrip the line and do all that. So it can become a real hassle. And I've got plenty of these that if you wiggle them, you'll hear the sound connect and disconnect. This one happens to be fine currently, but I have had some of these like where I'll just slide the device out of the way and you can just hear like all kinds of crackling and stuff. Few things can be going on is, as I said, one, there could be something wrong with the connection in here. These can get kind of oxidized, and if you're touching it, you're getting like the oil in your hands and other stuff on it. So it can create connection issues. So could be a lot of things going on. Sometimes I found just kind of unplugging and replugging them in will kind of wear off some of whatever the crud is on there, or kind of wiggling them may help. So I'm not saying anything bad about HOSA. I've got plenty of their cables in my setup right now, between like these the TS style where you've just got the tip and the sleeve, and I've got plenty of these patch cables which are tip, ring, so you get like your second connection, and then the sleeves your third connection. These I'll use for stereo. These are more mono, like where you have your left and right channels. But some of the best cables I've actually got is this style. Now, there used to be a store, I don't know, 25-ish years ago, called Music Mall. See here, they branded the cable. I'm sure they bought it wholesale from other places to sell them. But these cables, and specifically like this style connector, is really nice because it actually screws in. And if anything ever happened to the cable, it's really just a matter of coming in, resoldering things back together, and then you can put the sleeve back on and screw it back in tight, and you're good to go. So, this style is absolutely going to cost you much more money. You might ask why I'm not using it in this setup, and you can kind of see like the thickness of this cable here. It's much thicker, which is why you're going to get a better connection. It's going to be harder for that to break away and cause issues. But because this is thicker, it's harder to kind of route around, and it can make it more difficult to kind of just slide stuff out of the way, pull it back, and all that stuff. So, but on here, I mean, it does say Belden Custom Instruments. I don't even know if they're still around or not. I'd have to go look it up, but I got a ton of these cables and they're absolutely work great. Another type of cable I've gotten here is this. Similar to the HOSA. Instead of being like kind of that orangish color, this is a more red and like a little bit of a darker gray, but this says livewirecable.com. So I bought this at some point. I mean, you're going to end up, if you're getting into music, you're probably going to end up with lots of different cables. This happens to have the same end on both sides for being the TS. Sometimes you'll get stuff that is, RCA jacks or whatever. So just kind of looking around for that. The other thing I've actually gotten a fair amount of, and I'm sure some people are going to be like, oh, hipster cables, but I got some of these. I got a fair amount of the teenage engineering cables, and the main reason is because I've kind of switched over to using the the TX6 here as my mixer for quite a while. I like the sound quality of it. It's got some nice features, and the problem is, it doesn't like something in here. I just heard some noise pickup. Anyway, they're very skinny profile for the connections on the back of the TX6. So I ended up having to get some of these so I can hook things in and make sure I got all of that working, be able to connect into other devices without sacrificing some of these or trying to squeeze in things that are going to be way too tight in there. Because you'll see like normal jacks are usually a bit wider like this. And even though maybe on the screen here might not look that much wider, it makes a difference in making those connections on the back of the TX6. Um, eh, I've actually had really good success with these. I found them to be quite high quality. They do have suffer from the problem where, the cables are stuck in this plastic, and when it fails on the inside, I don't know how. I don't. It's probably braided copper wire. Probably very hard to solder and repair, is my guess. But I've actually had like really good success with the quality of these so far. Whereas something like this, it's just like these generic black cables. I find that they just don't typically have very long life to them. Be like it's just so thin. Like if you're flexing them around and doing a lot of stuff with them, your connections are going to suffer for it. So yeah. Um, I don't have much more to say about the cables that I'm using in general here, but I would say absolutely kind of keep an eye out, look around, see what you've got. And yeah, HOSA's great. As I said, it's great for like that, just getting stuff connected, good price. If you want to step up, I would really look at getting something like this where you have the metal connector on the end that you can screw and unscrew so you can modify these and fix them as necessary because they will eventually fail they tend to fail right in like that junction space that is hard to get access to, and these do give you access to it. So if you're halfway decent at soldering, you can get these things back into a functioning condition. Anyway, thank you for the question. Really appreciate it. Hope that helps some folks out. Everybody, as I always say, keep making music, keep having fun. Remember, if it sounds good, it is good, and peace.